Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Austin Clark here. I am the host of the Multiply You podcast. Today, I am just thrilled to introduce you to a really incredible, amazing individual here. And I'm so excited for everyone to be able to get to know a little bit about him and his experience. His name is Nate Brown. He's the Chief Experience Officer of a great firm called Officium. And before we get into introducing him a little bit more, this episode, as they all are, is brought to you by Moxie Pest Control. Our purpose is to improve the quality of life for our customers, team, and community. And our purpose is growth. We want to be able to expand that and accomplish our purpose by servicing one more home or residence or place at a time. And so we're interested in looking to grow in all of the normal ways. But the last couple of years, we've had a handful of experiences and pieces of success as it relates to growth via acquisition. And so specifically in Arizona, if anyone listening, is aware of anybody that is either looking to exit the market or is looking for a transition into the next, chapter of their life, you could say, send them our way. They can call me directly or text me directly on my cell. It's 480-254-9730. They can email me directly at aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com. We have had a lot of really neat experiences in helping people to do that and kind of move on to the next chapter. So without further ado, Nate Brown, everybody, he's incredible. I'm excited to be able to share with you a little bit how we met. His bio here, it's just, this thing should be 10 pages long.
No.
But, I think when you sent it over, you were being humble. But Nate Brown is a perpetual student of the world's greatest experiences and the people who create them. Having spent the first decade of his career managing a complex technical support environment for occupational health and e-learning software, Nate transitioned to customer experience in about 2015. After authoring the CX Primer, Brown was dubbed the CX Influencer of the Year by CloudCherry in 2019 and a top global CX thought leader by TruRating, Qminder, ProcedureFlow, Live Help Now, ICMI, Exceeders, Netomi, I don't know how to say that.
Netomi.
Survey Sensum, Matson Kumar, iAdvise, and Litmus World. Really anyone out there that knows anything about CX. As a passion project, Nate created CX Accelerator, a first-class virtual community for customer experience professionals. Nate currently serves as the Chief Experience Officer, or CEO, of Officium Labs and can be found on a variety of conference speaking circuits and training on the CX topics he loves. Nate, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Oh, great. Well, that was a flattering introduction. Thank you so much, Austin. I've been very much looking forward to this episode with you. Thank you for your grace the other day when I was just not able to jump on with you. And here we are. And I've been so happy to do this with you.
No, this is going to be great. I've been anticipating it too. And, sometimes days get away from us and things happen. But I wish that we would have just recorded everything from the very, very beginning, because even the 3 or 4 minutes that we spent previous was just loaded with value and loaded with just really anyway. And so we're going to talk a lot more about that. But so for me, my relationship with Nate starts probably, I think that it was 2 years ago at the ICMI demo in Chicago. Was it in Chicago?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was in Chicago. And I had kind of fallen into the call center, contact center type space. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I got to go figure this out. I got to watch YouTube videos. And so we started looking for the conferences, and we found that there were a couple of really neat things that as far as that space goes, and we kind of landed on and at ICMI demo, which was, it blew my mind. It changed my world. I didn't even know, my wife, she I told her what it was and why I needed to go. And she calls it, my nerd conference that I went to.
It's true.
And I'm like, look, you're totally right. And I wear that with a badge of honor. And,
oh, that's funny.
Me and a coworker, we get there and, we're the new guys and we don't know anything or anyone. And we were so excited to meet Matt Beckwith because he was the only other pest control company guy that was there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let me go talk to this guy. Maybe we can talk about ants together. And then, I mean, you won't say this, but it's true. I mean, Nate just stole the show and was so receptive, so helpful, incredible speeches. But the most impactful thing that you did for me was introduce me to Dan Fogelberg and his music and Tucson, Arizona Gazette. And I had never heard of it. And I listened to it. I'm like, how has no one told me about this guy?
Brilliant.
And I said, I was with my dad later that week. I'm like, Dad, do you, and he's like, Dan Fogelberg? Yeah. He felt like he failed me as a dad by not introducing me to Dan Fogelberg, a while ago. So amazing. I've been a Dan Fogelberg fan ever since, and still listen. But Nate, tell us a little bit about you, where you've been, what's some of your path, what's some of your story. I mean, you've just had a very colorful and a good way career and path.
I appreciate that, Austin. And my moment, my parallel universe, when you were meeting me, I was so excited I was just drawn to you and Travis. I mean, just your magnetism, your growth mentality. I could see it. I could see that growth mentality in you and just the hunger that you had at that show. I mean, there's a lot of people that show up at a conference like that and they're kind of like, oh, I know everything. Try and impress me with something new. Maybe I'll pull out a couple nuggets from this conference. And then you've got you. It's just like, this is amazing. I was just drawn right to you.
Well, maybe we were easy to spot because we were the only two guys that didn't know what the heck we were doing. And we looked lost and everyone felt bad. And they're like, oh my gosh, these guys, we feel so bad for them. We got to put our arms around them or something. And
I love it. I love the growth mentality that you have. And so, yeah, I've been somebody that came up through the customer service ranks a bit and I guess kind of stalled out. It was about 2015 where I was kind of like, there's got to be more to life than this. I love customer service, but I didn't know it at the time. But I mean, this book, Effortless Experience, predicts a lot of the reasons that I felt stuck. I mean, you're in a defensive team at that point, and it's very hard to go on the offense in a customer service environment because you're far more likely to cause harm than good, to generate disloyalty versus loyalty when it comes to customer service interactions.
It's so easy to do that. It's so easy to mess up.
Oh, it really is. And the psychology is there. People almost assume that there's going to be a failure when they're interacting with support. And in many ways, on the experience level, there has been a failure because they're having to engage with support. There's an issue. And so now I'm already on the offense as a customer. All right, well, what are you going to do to make this right? And it's very exhausting in that. So enter in customer experience, which is where we get to create a more frictionless experience up here before the issue is born. try and prevent it, try and mitigate the damage of it. But then two, let's make customer service more strategic. Let's have them participate in this customer experience design layer where they're learning, they're engaging, they're building relationships, they're practicing customer success of maximizing value and trying to engage these customers in a new and proactive way. And that changes the work, and it changed things for me. And like you, Austin, in that same frame of time, I became very hungry for more of this CX fodder. Feed me, and just started reading and consuming and learning from folks. And the rest has been history. I mean, I love doing this work. I love doing it inside of Officium Labs as the CXO, learning all this great stuff, reading from these thought leaders, communicating with them on Clubhouse and through these podcasts. I learn as much as anybody doing these podcasts from the great people that I get to interface with. And then I get to give that back to communities like CX Accelerator and other places. And it's just a very rewarding cycle right now.
That's amazing. And so we've got to jump. I mean, I want to jump right into some of the meat of this stuff because, we visited before about just some of, so when it comes to customer service, CX, And especially too, I think that it's any industry, but I'm mostly in home services, and so I just think the bar is so low. And you mentioned the effortless experience. Like
Yeah.
it is our duty, our job, whether we own a company, whether we're a frontline employee in a company, but whatever, it ought to be our obligation to make it so easy and enjoyable to do business with us as humanly possible. And you think about the customer experience. I don't believe that it starts when someone becomes a paying customer or ends when they stop. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you are continually, whether it's marketing or reaching out, but providing value and contributing. We talked earlier about not necessarily a case study, but as more and more people, millennials, Generation Z, are coming into the workforce, you had talked about mission-driven CX, and I think that you've
Yeah.
spoken on that quite a bit. Could you share with us a little bit more about what you mean or what that looks like?
Absolutely. I mean, there are brands that are legacy brands with these huge reputations and legacies that are being unmade right now. They're being destroyed in the marketplace, and market share is being gobbled up by these other players. And what other players are going to make it? There's so much competition entering into the space, and it's fascinating to see who excels and who makes it past that magic 2-year period as a startup and who ultimately fizzles out. What are these factors that attract us as customers to them and generate our loyalty? There's so much psychology here. And a lot of it is what I've been terming mission-driven CX. And much of it was instilled in my mind at that ICMI conference when Denise Leon spoke.
Yeah.
And her brilliant work, Fusion, which is talking about the fact that customers are just starved for authenticity when it comes to the brands that they do business with. They want the brand to have a good, distinctive, unique identity, and they want them to be able to deliver on the experience associated with that distinctive identity. So there's a brand promise that is made, and marketing traditionally has done that brand promise, and we've splashed things up on a website and said, "Oh, this is what we do. This is what we do as a company. Take us or leave us." And then the experience is just peripheral. It's like, well, hopefully we can do enough to hit the mark on this expectation to where we don't piss people off so bad that they yell at us on social media.
And aren't times changing so much? And thank goodness for that, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
companies used to grow because of previously whoever had the biggest marketing budget or whatever else. And now, if you've got that, great, but you also don't need it. You can focus on actually delivering value, right?
Oh my goodness, it was Rob Markey this morning in a Clubhouse chat. He's the founder of the customer success practice inside of Bain and Company. He said, marketing is the tax that you pay for having an unremarkable product, which is so interesting. And I would like to morph that a little bit, product and experience, because it's not always just about the product. It's about the experience that you're wrapping around the product. And if that experience is good and compelling, your customers are going to do the work of marketing for you, and your people, your employees. We know when somebody loves their job. They're like a beacon that is lit out in the world because they're on mission. They love what they're getting to do. Their life is in harmony in a way that so few of us get to experience, because they're not just having to show up to a job, turn their brain off for 40 hours a week, and then live the rest of their lives. They get to be more of a person all the time. And we're drawn to these people, and we want to know what company they work for. And then we want to know how we can be involved. They attract the top talent, and they earn more customers because of this beacon that they have lit through their authenticity, through their unique identity, and then the delivery of an authentic experience to back that up.
So you're talking about much more than a brand ambassador. I mean, you are talking about someone, an employee, if you will, inside of an organization that is just bought in, drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe dig a little bit more into that. I mean, how does a company do that? I mean, that is magical, right? How do they do that? Where do they find these people? How do they communicate that? How does a company go about doing that?
Well, I've always kind of wondered about that metaphor of drinking the Kool-Aid. there's kind of a top-down symbolism to that. Of I have this vat of Kool-Aid and I'm pouring it into you, and you're accepting it. Oh, benevolent company, thank you for your Kool-Aid. But the best companies, no, the employees are getting to stir the Kool-Aid. They're making it. They're there with you together, and you have laid out, here's what we are as a company, here's what we do, here's why we're so great and authentic, and you're attracting people that are going to represent that truly. and be able to bring that into reality for the customers and for each other. So, I mean, you together are stirring up that Kool-Aid and then giving that out to the world as a gift that only your company can give. It's a flavor only you can make. And that's what people love is that process of creating something, being a part of something very unique and compelling, and being able to give that out. They know that that's different because they talk to their friends. And they know that their friends hate their job and that they've been stuck in that chair for 20 years or whatever. And so there's a great pride that comes with getting to be a part of an organization where you are building, you're growing, you're doing something unique and special. Those aren't jobs that you leave easily.
It's interesting you say that. First of all, I'm going to use the metaphor of drinking the Kool-Aid a lot more carefully now, because I love what you just said. There's a company here in town in Phoenix. I think the address is in Chandler, more specifically, that I've loved for a really long time. It's Infusionsoft. It's called Keep, Keap. Previously Infusionsoft. It's essentially a lead development and tracking type tool, similar to perhaps like Salesforce. Clayton Mask is the CEO down there. Big employer in the Chandler area. I feel like half my friends work down there, and sometimes I'll either go to lunch or meet people down there. Yeah. And as you're talking about this culture and just some of these employees that are just beacons that are just involved in making the Kool-Aid, yep. I really think that this place has got that right. The culture is on point, and it's not so it's cool that they have a cereal bar with every variety of cereal that you could ever ask for and have at any time you want. And I'm a sucker for cereal, but they have a big giant football field in the middle of their contact center, in the middle of their operations center. They've got different like think tanks, and it goes so much farther beyond that. People stay there for a while too, because there's their value. They're part of it. They're part of whatever the secret sauce is. So they've just been a brand, and as I followed them, that I've kind of looked up to. Recently, Nate, you had some fireplace trouble, and as it relates a little bit to home services, but what was that like? I know that you had, you became a prospect, I guess, for one reason or another. And I mean, then how does it go from there? Do you start Googling? Do you hop on your phone? Do you hop on Instagram? And then what was some of the path of how different companies exchanged with you to either influence you for better or for worse? What was that like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the home services space, I feel like more than anything else, that there's a quote that I heard from somebody in Moment. They said, the brand promise is no longer what you put on your website. It's what one customer says to another. So your brand reputation as a home services company, you don't get to make it up. Ultimately, it's going to be dictated by the people that you service and the reputation that you have gained inside of your community. You don't get to create that. You get to earn that. And it can't be undone easily, because that's like, your reputation is worth more than gold, as the proverb would say. So I feel like even more in this space, that is true. So, I mean, the first thing I did when I was like, wow, my natural gas fireplace does not work. I do not know how to get this thing on. We have a new home in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
It's cold, right? We're in the middle of winter here.
Yeah, I want to be able to sit in my living room and enjoy this beautiful fireplace. So the first thing I'm doing is, who do I know from my network that could service this thing that I trust? And in this particular case, not having somebody from my own personal network, my friends and family, that has been recommended to me that I would know would be the right candidate for this, that did drive me to Google. And then of course, what happens with Google is you get the marketing behemoth. The first thing that pops up in the
you're being served up the top. I think it used to be 3, now it's 5 pay-per-click spots, right? I mean, Google My Business, right? All of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just such a science behind that, and it is an expensive science.
Yeah,
so you're going to get organizations that pop up that have a very, very expensive marketing engine in place. Those are generally going to be the first results that you have. But I mean, they got there somehow. There's a lot of investment being made. Investment would generally sometimes hopefully imply happy customers. Hopefully, that doesn't always translate to reality. But in this case, the company pops up, and I remember seeing their vans around town.
Okay.
Interested by their unique type offer. I can't say that word. I can't say that word either. Their unique branding that they had created on their vehicles. So I was like, I've always been kind of curious about that company. Anyway, I'm going to give them a call. And I mean, it was abysmal. I mean, it was this robotic experience. Ultimately, they would not come out to service my fireplace for a month. They wanted me to wait for an entire month. And they wanted, just to get this thing going, they wanted $350 because there was only one service that they could provide, and that was their extensive cleaning, optimization, full, all of this stuff.
And you're like, and you're like, hold on, this house is brand new. This furnace has been burning for 8 hours total. It does not need to be all of that, right?
But what they're communicating to me is, you're not worth our time if you're not going to spend at least $350 for this premium service. And so I'm out here like, what the heck? I mean, is this really the way this industry is? Because sometimes you get into these industries and almost collaboratively, that's the way the game is played. I feel like sometimes in the automotive industry, you run up against these situations where every vendor has decided this is just the way it's going to be, and the customer gets screwed, at least in my own personal opinion. I was like, maybe the chimney services is another one of these type of industries. Well, no, because then I went down the list. And I found a brand that I felt like would be more in tune with the type of experience that I'm looking for. I want somebody who's available, who's going to be able to just come in here and just tell me what's going on and give me a quick fix for what I need. And there was one way down there, A-above Chimney Services. It was the next call I made, and this gentleman picked up the phone immediately. Which with the other, it took forever to actually get connected with anybody. And he explained the issue. He's asking me questions. Oh, how long have you been in Murfreesboro? Oh, we moved in, just now, and here's what's going on. I was like, oh, I'd be really interested to check that out. Do you mind if I come over tomorrow morning? Are you serious? You can do that? Oh yeah, of course. I'm on my way to another appointment in Antioch. I can stop by in the morning and take a look right away for you. And sure enough, the guy shows up exactly when he promised he was going to, takes a look at it, had the thing up and running in 20 minutes. We had a delightful conversation with him, and it cost, $80-90, which was in line with the type of experience that we were looking for there.
And with the issue that you were having with the furnace, it didn't need to be cleaned. It didn't need to be washed. It didn't need to be, all the rest of those things. Yeah, you had a specific need, needed a specific solution, and fast. Wow. So it couldn't really be more of a disparity or difference between those two experiences. The other thing that's interesting too, is you were sharing that, is that, normally a higher cost, like you said, is associated with premium brand, premium lettering or decals or paint on the, what I mean? And so, and then I really like what you said too, that, you might think that, maybe clicking on one of those pay-per-click ads or, paid services up there at the top when you Google anything, that that means that they may have more of a budget. More of a budget would hopefully come from more profit. More profit would hopefully come from caring for customers better or servicing them faster. Yeah. And, this just wasn't the experience there. And so got what you needed. What I heard and took away from the firm that you chose, picked up quickly. So they picked up quickly. Even before that, I guess that you resonated with the brand for one reason or another. Really friendly guy, right? Really friendly kind of guy, relating with you, and then could get there quick, and the thing that you said that really not caught me off guard, but maybe he was an incredible salesman, or maybe he was just a real genuine, good, authentic guy. But as you described the problem that you were having, it sounds like he was kind of diagnosing with you and said, that sounds interesting. Would you mind if I came and took a look at that tomorrow, which was a lot faster than 30 days.
Well, it was a very well done conversation on his part, because he could have come out here and it could have been a mess.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he left it open for whatever possibility he was going to uncover, in this particular case, it turned out there was no issues and he was able to get it going immediately. And that was in line with what I was hoping for. But based on the way he conducted the conversation, if he had come in here and there ended up being a major issue and he needed to come back out and it was going to be more expensive, he didn't set an expectation with me to where I would be overly disappointed with that. So he did it very well, and he's earned my loyalty. So of course, now if I do have a significant issue on this, it's plugged in my head now.
He's coming out. You know him, you like him, you trust him. And if the fix is $500, you probably won't second guess that. You'll say, look, you did me right the first time. Why would I expect that the second time, fourth time, fifth time be any different? And then if your friends, family, neighbors, right, there you go, right? And how many people, I can't imagine, Nate, that I am the first person you're telling about this experience. Not even close, right?
You're not. No, I was going to bring it full circle back, and you just did it exactly for me. The fact that I had to go to Google means there was a failure in my own personal network. Well, now that gap is filled, and I'm excited. I'm hungry to be able to tell people about this great service that I uncovered. And I did go out and leave a 5-star review on Google for this person. So I mean that is there. The electronic validation is there for them, and hopefully that bumps them up a little bit in the Google ratings. But I mean this is the way loyalty is earned. It takes time, but it's the right way to do it. And some of these other organizations that have built their reputations on these marketing engines, but are ultimately not delivering on the type of experience that customers are looking for, the door is wide open in the home services industry for these smaller, scrappier organizations to come in, deliver a good, authentic experience, position themselves very specifically, and make a difference in the space.
And take market share, like you said, away from the big players or the 800-pound gorillas in the state or in the nation or in the whatever else. It's really fascinating. In your experience, as we kind of transition, in your experience, Nate, which you have tons of, where are there? Of course, there's best practices, and we could do a whole other pieces on this. But where are the most common places companies go wrong? What are some of the most common mistakes that you see over and you don't even have to go there. If someone hired you to consult to say, hey, we want to improve our customer experience, you could just say, with your eyes closed, do A, B, C. I know that at least 2 of those 3 things are not being done the way that maybe they should. But where do companies go wrong? What are some of those best practices?
Yeah, I mean, I love starting with employee experience data. And one of the first things that I do when I come into a team is either look at and or implement something like a pulse survey capability inside of the organization where I can understand the true point of the employee experience.
Can you find out everything that you need to know from, not just a survey like that, but do your employees or employees in an organization know everything that someone might need to know to either improve or deliver a better customer experience?
98% of it is going to be there. And it's going to be in a way where you can understand it very clearly, because the employee has the ability to connect the customer's reality that they see and feel with the actual reality inside of the organization when it comes to broken tool sets and poorly curated knowledge and all of these things. The customer doesn't know what that is. They just know what they're frustrated about. The frontline employees, they know that the customer's frustrated and they know why. if you want to accelerate your learning about where is this company in terms of their ability to deliver a great customer experience, it starts there for two reasons. That data quality is one. And then two, as Denise said at that keynote that she gave to us at ICMI, your employees can and will only deliver the gift of an experience that they themselves have. And if they have a bad experience side of the company, they've got nothing to give. They can't do it. They can't falsify this. They can't manipulate this. They can't create it, at least not consistently, not sustainably. So you got to design that employee experience first. Then ultimately you have the foundation on which to build.
So this is something I asked Matt a few months ago when he was on Beckwith over at Clark's Pest Control. And I wonder if your opinion is different or the same, but it's maybe chicken and the egg, but what is more important? Or if you have to choose somewhere to start, is it the customer experience? Is it the employee experience? As you focus on the employee experience, does the customer experience follow? Do you focus on both? What do organizations do?
I mean, I personally definitely recommend starting with the employee experience. That is where your brand reputation begins. Because of what I just mentioned around the inauthenticity of trying to design a customer experience over here that ultimately doesn't exist inside of the company. You have to be living out these principles, living out this unique identity that we talked about before. It starts in the house first. Then you get to walk outside onto the street. Then you get to go into town. Then you get to drive out into the city. It's an expanding principle, but it begins inside of the house. I'll give you this example. I was trying to design this killer employee or customer voice program where we understand better what our customers were saying inside of the customer service center. And we made all these USB web keys that literally flash. And anytime a contact center agent was getting meaningful feedback from a customer, I had them clicking this button to be able to centralize that into our voice of customer platform at the time. It worked really well for customer feedback. But I was given this button out to, it was actually somebody from the sales team, because the pilot went well enough to where we were expanding it out to other areas of the company that also got great customer feedback. And the salesperson looked at me and she goes, "This is great for the customer. Where's my button?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't have a button for you.
Let me go find one for you."
And she just kind of was like, "Well, nice try. You know, we got nothing to say here, because until you value me, until you care about me and my feedback, my opinions, I'm not going to go do anything extra to care about this customer."
Sure.
It should start with me. And I 100% agree with her. And that's when I went out and found Office Vibe and started using that as our pulse survey system, which just revolutionized my approach to CX with the quality of that data that we received and identifying those friction points both inside and outside the organization through that effort. So, I mean, it definitely begins with the egg, the EX.
Wow. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, because, it is a little bit of a debate, and I love, your analogy of just doing it in-house first and then taking it to the street, the city, and so on. It makes a lot of sense. So what does it look like to be Nate Brown for a day? I mean, you've been there at Officium for a little bit of time now. What exactly do you do there? What's great about the company? How has it evolved since you've been there?
Yeah, great question. It's a great organization. I've really loved serving inside of Officium Labs this past almost year and a half. I can hardly believe that. But I get to do the work of CX. Right now I'm serving a Fortune 10 gaming company is one of the customers that I get to work with a lot. And it's just good and fascinating work that I'm getting to make a huge difference. I mean, we started with this massive CX transformation project inside of this game studio about 2 years ago. They were at 30% CSAT. Now it's up to 90% customer satisfaction inside of the customer service area, and to have played a role in that, and to also have done quite a bit to make the agents themselves happier and more engaged in their work. It's something that I take a great deal of pride in. So that's today, developing like a training newsletter as part of that. And also just got off the phone right before this coaching a brand new CX professional who's very new to her role and is excited to be jumping in and building this CX strategy. So got to help her in the development of that strategy. But then, doing the marketing for the company. And we're excited to celebrate International Women's Day on the 8th, just on Monday. So planning out that post, planning out a gift for the women of Officium that we're going to be able to offer to them, and doing some of that activity. We're launching a brand new website next week that I got to do a lot inside of this brand new website and the development of that. We acquired a company called Spreadsheet Scheduler that does workforce management and got to develop the whole marketing launch plan around that. And then getting to be the evangelist inside of the company for the power and the importance of CX. So speaking and writing and talking about it on Clubhouse, doing podcasts like this, creating blog posts like the Mission Driven CX blog. It is too much. I'm trying to do too much. But I love all the aspects of my work too much to give any of them up.
No better person for that role. No better person for that role. I mean, what a just riot to come to work every day to be able to, talk with you, see you, do a lot of those things. And so then, Nate, as we kind of round this thing out, what are some of the things that you do to continue to be relevant every single day in your role? Where do you turn for education? What do you listen to? What do you read? I mean, we met at a conference, so you obviously do that. Yeah. You're very creative as far as your, writing and just a lot of the things that you think about and ideas that you're able to share with people, and all of that sort of thing. So, where do you go? What do you do?
I try hard to surround myself with people that are much smarter than me, and I've got several. The bar's not too high for that. So Steve Gutzler, my executive coach, is phenomenal in challenging me and just making me better in my job. Our CEO, Jonathan, is also incredible in his ability to show and demonstrate the ROI of CX work, to correlate customer service interactions to customer lifetime value as an example, and just run this great company and build the vision that he has. I mean, it's such a cool vision of decentralizing wealth and bringing great jobs to tier 2 through tier 6 cities, and having people do customer service and CX work of a caliber that could not be done inside of their communities before. So his vision around that, the foundation that he's building around that, the generosity. So I'm being inspired by folks like that. My father, who's the VP of Marketing Operations at Verint, has been an incredible mentor and inspiration for me. So surrounding myself with those people keeps me hungry, keeps me learning. I love reading, as you know, reading Tribal Leadership right now, which is so fascinating. Just in terms of like creating great teams and what makes a great team so distinctive and unique, and that fostering that pride and ambassadorship inside of that tribe is such a fascinating concept to me. So doing that, but then CX Accelerator, there's so many good, smart people in there, and the channel leaders that we have collected to curate those conversations around employee experience, user experience, technology, and CX. I just love being able to be in that community, just drinking up. That is Kool-Aid that I drink.
Yeah.
To use your metaphor.
Yeah.
I'd be too scared to try and stir that Kool-Aid because it's perfect. So I just consume that, and it is wonderful.
That's great. Surround yourself around incredible people, smarter than you, or that'll challenge you if you can. And then big reader, you're always reading, always learning, and then CX Accelerator. And really appreciate you sharing those things. As we round this out, Nate, what parting words have you got? What advice have you got? I mean, anyone that's either an owner of a home service company, manager, lead, employee, what would you say to them that are maybe listening today?
Form a bold identity in your company. Do something different. Offer this world a gift through your brand that nobody else can do quite as well as you can. Write down the behaviors and mentalities and culture that could form something that distinctive. And then from there, design an experience that can make that real, and bring people in that can help you to do that. That is a life's work right there that will be rewarding It'll be appreciated by society because you'll be offering up something that is going to reduce stress and friction for them. It's going to give them something new and compelling. You'll be offering great jobs and a great workplace for people who are hungry for that, who need that. This is really good, important work that we're getting to do together. So take heart in it.
I love that. Awesome closing remarks and thoughts. Nate, if people need to connect with you, where do they do that? Do they go on to LinkedIn? Do they? Where do they find you?
Yeah, I would love LinkedIn. You'll find me Nate Brown. I think I finally started to pop up if you type in Nate Brown. Yeah. A lot of Nate Browns out there.
I was going to say that's a big deal. That's the most common name in the world, right? And you're there.
I was talking to my cousin this week. His name is Josh Brown, and he was expressing that frustration. He's like, "How do you rise above the commonality of our name?" I was like, "I don't know. I haven't." So at customer is first on Twitter, and then www.officiumlabs.io. You can connect with us right there. So would love to be a resource for you.
Incredible. Nate, thank you so much for being on. You rocked it like I knew that you would. Thanks everybody for tuning in, for listening. Subscribe, tune in for more episodes. We're dropping them once a week. We'll continue to have more incredible guests like Nate and past guests that include Michael Lee Gerber and just some really, really phenomenal type people. So tune in. Thank you for doing it today, and we'll catch everybody next time. Bye-bye. Thanks again, Nate.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.